Hi, chess fans. Today I'm going to bring you a game between Rick Garel and Marv Mattson from the 2006 Canadian Open. Now, Marv is a US player, but he and his son, National Master Dane Mattson, have traveled to many Canadian Opens over the years. And Dane was recently telling me that his father turned 80 and this year went to the Lake Superior Open in Wisconsin and tied for first place in the under 1800 section at the age of 80. Just fantastic. So let's celebrate that great accomplishment. Dane also sent me this game, which is one of Marv's most memorable games from Canadian Open. So let's check it out. Rick plays e4 and Marv plays the French defense. Now, I love the French defense. I play it myself, and the reason I play it is because moving this pawn to e6 is a nice shield for this weak pawn on f7, your weakest pawn in the game starting off. And I just was tired of playing my pawn to e5 and having everybody clobber me with attacks on e7. So the French defense, very solid and safe opening play. So they end up playing what's called a win-aware variation, which I avoid myself because of complications. But it is a very, very solid, and as you will see, it can really lead to some more exciting games in the French defense. This is the advanced variation, and Marv plays this really thematic move in the French to play the pawn to c5 to attack White's center. Rick plays pawn to a3 to attack the bishop. Now, Marv, instead of dealing with his bishop being attacked, he counterattacks. Plays pawn takes d4, attacking the knight, which is pinned. This knight here is actually pinned to the king. So if this knight, it's impossible for White to move the knight out of the way. So what Rick does is he takes back with the queen, which also defends this knight. Marv plays knight to c6, which attacks the queen with tempo. So that means we're attacking the queen, developing a piece at the same time. Now the queen has got to move because it's under attack. But Rick plays a clever move to deal with this. He pins the knight to this king here with his bishop. So just lots of complications happening in this game already. And Marv decides to move the bishop back because, of course, it was under attack, and there was no way to take back with take the queen now. So it's just moving the bishop to safety. Knight gets developed here, and Marv moves the bishop again. This time, putting it on this really, really strong diagonal and attacking the queen in the process. Rick moves the queen to g4, and Marv very, very calmly tempts Rick into taking the g7 pawn. Now this looks like a free pawn, but sometimes if you take that pawn, you might pay for it when the rook comes to g8, having control of that semi-open file. So Rick doesn't want to go there and castles instead, and Marv plays his knight to g6. Now we have Rick rerouting the knight, and Marv wants to kick the bishop because the pin is still here. This knight now can't be used because of the bishop. He can't move the knight because it would be check. Now, Rick keeps the pin on, moving back to a4. Now Marv breaks the pin, which gives this knight mobility again. c4 is played. White is striking at black center. Marv takes the pawn, and Rick doesn't take back right away. He moves the bishop, and the bishop is eyeing this knight here. As you can see, this knight and this knight are both putting pressure on this important pawn on e5. So bishop comes here, just keeping an eye on this useful knight. Marv moves his bishop here. Now we have a third attacker on this e5 pawn. So lots happening in this game. White is not fully developed yet. It would be one disadvantage I think White has in this game. This bishop hasn't moved yet, and all of the minor pieces for black are all working. They're all working well together. They all have a good purpose. Now, Rick decides, I want to get rid of that knight. Doubles up black's pawns, but there is one important thing is now this rook has control of the semi-open file. So more about that later. Moving the queen to f4, sorry, and now Marv moves his queen to b8. Now we again have three attackers on this important e5 pawn. White takes back the pawn, but now is the time for e5 to fall. So black is up a pawn again, and after takes, we see this bishop here is putting an enormous amount of pressure on this pawn on h2. We have the rook, the bishop, and the queen all attacking that pawn. So how does White deal with that? Well, White deals with that by moving this pawn up, supported by the rook and the bishop, and attacking the bishop on e5. So how does Marv deal with that? Again, counterattack, moving the bishop to a really, really nice diagonal. Now it's not trapped behind its own pawn here. The bishop has a lot of scope, and the queen's got to move. So the queen moves over to e4 and attacking this bishop. So Marv just calmly moves the bishop to safety, and Rick moves the rook over to e1. Now this rook and this queen are both together. Now there is a knight in the way, but the knight can move. Have pressure because they're pointing at the king indirectly. I mean, there are pieces in the way, but you know, chess is a game where lots of things can turn around and open up. So definitely something for Marv to keep an eye on. Marv plays this great move here, putting the bishop on the longest diagonal and attacking the queen at the same time. Still, White's dark squared bishop isn't into the game yet, and White's dealing with a lot of pressure. Now, where's White going to put the queen? Over here. And this sets up a winning position for black, but black's got to find it. Pause the video and see if you can find this winning idea for black. All right. Well, if you found queen to a7, well done. This puts the king in check, and when the king moves into the corner, it's actually queen to f2 where Rick resigns, because it's it's a really, really tough position for White to be in. This pawn is also attacked by the bishop. So checkmate in one move is being threatened. So White resigns here, but I'll just show you how you would win in this position if you were black. If White tries to defend the checkmate on g2, remember earlier I mentioned the open h file? Well, look at this. Rook takes h2 with a dagger. King has to take back, and now look at this. This is checkmate. So really, really, I can see why this is a memorable game for Marv, and it was great to see this game. I talked to Marv and Dane many times over the years at Canadian Opens, and they're just great guys. So thanks again to Dane for sharing that game with me, and well done, Marv. 80 years old. I hope I'll be playing chess when I'm 80. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone.